Hello, all my friends. First, I recorded these reflections on Trump's phenomenon in Russian, and actually, I was going just to add English subtitles to my Russian presentation, but later, I decided that it is way easier to record it once again entirely in English. So, let us start. The main question that many people in the world ask to themselves and to others: why American voters chose Trump? And this is a complex question, but at the same time not that complex at all. If we look in retrospective back for 10, even 5 or more than 10 years, it is obvious that already then certain trends were emerging, that people were getting tired of the political establishments, of the political processes and procedures of already ossified systems. It has been true not only for the United States, but for many, many countries in the world, and particularly for European countries too. Simply speaking, people started being starving for a change. This can be also explained by pretty objective factors. The thing is that our world is very quickly moving to a new historical era. In fact, we are in a turbulent period of change from one historical phase to another one, to a newer, from post-industrial era to digital era. The era of artificial intellect, alternative energy, new conditions, new approaches, lots of new phenomena, and obviously new rules of the game. About 10 or say 12 years ago, when I resided in Hamburg, which is traditionally left-wing in political sense, many of my friends there were literally horrified by the fact how the residents of the Eastern Germany, the former communist GDR, could vote for such renegades, they even called them fascists. I mean, the right-wing party Alternative for Germany, Alternative für Deutschland. So at that time, for my friends, German friends in Hamburg, that was scary, strange, and inexplicable at all. But now, years later, it is obvious that this has become a trend. Both far right-wing Alternative for Germany and the far-left Union of Sarah Wagenknecht are becoming increasingly popular, not only in GDR, but also in other parts of Germany. The tradition of the so-called moderate centrism is no longer prevailing, and somehow gradually becoming obsolete. Christian Democrats, Social Democrats, and even the Greens no longer meet expectations of their voters, and it is not surprising that they are losing popularity and votes. And this trend has become stable, whether we like it or not. Well, I do apologize for getting too carried away with the German case, but it was not incidental. The thing is that I do believe that there are a lot of similarities between what is going in Europe and what is going in the States, and vice versa. The thing is, it's obvious that Americans seem to be getting sick to death of their political establishment. They are sick and tired of this endless carousel of the Bush clan replacing the Clinton clan and vice versa, and this cycling again and again and again and again. And surely this, to a great extent, stipulated the first election of Trump 8 years ago. And many Americans voted for Trump not because they probably shared or supported his ideas, but just in order not to vote for already boring establishments, for Democrats. Biden, of course, is a career diplomat and politician, very experienced and very predictable. However, during the past 4 years of his power, he has generated way too many problems. Many of them are unresolved, and many of them he just swept under the carpet. And Kamala Harris, who replaced him in the election race, I do believe to some extent, and to a great extent, lost because of Biden's legacy. Kamala Harris is also a career official, a screw of the system. She could have been a pretty good general prosecutor, and she could be a really fairly good governor of a state. But the Americans didn't perceive her as the President of the United States. This is a problem. And when she replaced Biden in the election race, initially the scale tipped somewhat in her favor, but Trump shortly after gained the status quo, and particularly by some unpredictable prank-style actions, like when he arrived at a meeting with his supporters driving a garbage truck. And you remember this happened after Democrats had stupidly compared his supporters with garbage. So Trump came to the meeting as a driver of a garbage truck. A prank-style trick, but it definitely added points to his score. The other day I watched Swedish news about the US elections, and the video revealed two interviews, both taken from Afro-American women. And the first was really very much upset to tears about the fact that Democrats lost, while the other, also Afro-American, she was really happy that Trump won, that Trump, in her opinion, personifies America. He's the flash of America, and he will be able to solve America's problems. The fact is that traditionally, colored population of America, immigrants, including illegal immigrants, formed the majority of supporters to the Democratic Party, because much of the Democratic Party's agenda was devoted to the help and support to immigrants, but to the detriment of those taxpayers who had to pay for that. Now we see that part of the Democratic electorate has quite naturally and understandably flowed from Democratic camp to the Republican one. And there being immigrants themselves, these immigrants who support Trump no longer want any more immigrants to come. Let's get somehow abstracted from Trump's adventurism, populism, his outrageous statements, from the already established image of Trump. Let's look at him at a little bit different angle. Trump has been engaged in business for all his life, and he went bankrupt 5 or 6 times. So he started something, he went bankrupt, but then he emerged, he didn't give up, he started new business, again went bankrupt, and again didn't give up, and that repeated again and again and again. But it shows to ordinary Americans that he's the type to struggle, and he's definitely such a type. Now, entering the White House for the second time, having 32 or 34 criminal cases against him. But, well, pretty likely they will be dropped, because a US elected president cannot be subject to criminal prosecution when he is elected. Well, he can be if he goes through the process of impeachment, but this is very unlikely, given that Trump has the majority in the Congress, in the Senate, and the Supreme Court. And this is the unique moment, the unique time in the history of the American presidents, that an elected president has majority in all these bodies. And another thing, when Trump was the president the first time, he gave a lot of promises. Some of them he fulfilled, some he didn't. But anyway, one cannot deny that what he did. He lowered taxes for taxpayers, for employees. He lowered the cost of returning the capital from foreign jurisdictions back to the United States. He made it much more difficult for immigrants to obtain green cards, residence permit. And pretty objectively, the influx of immigrants has decreased. That is, in the eyes of ordinary Americans, spoke for the fact that Trump really tries to fulfill his promises, unlike many other professional politicians. So this time his victory is explained not by the fact that the American population has gone crazy. No. The thing is that Americans believe that by voting for Trump, they voted for themselves, for America, and their own interests within America. So these Americans do not approve of Democrats who spend too many resources on global issues like climate problems, like to help Ukraine or Israel. These Americans believe that it is the problems of the USA and within the United States that must be prioritized and addressed at first. And so, the result of all this is that we get what we see, and we see what we get.